What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bottom Line on Sports. He's Jeremy Pink. I'm Jean-Jacques Taylor, and this is our show about the intersection between sports and business. You know how we get down. We like to start every show with a number. The number this week, my man, 20 billion.
20 billion has to do with FIFA.
Well, why don't you tell us about that?
FIFA, well, I'm glad you asked, Jacques. FIFA has said that it is going to sell off a part of FIFA that's essentially the commercial enterprise side of it. So,
Yes.
so the group that does like sports rights fees and merchandising and things like that, they want to create sort of a separate entity for that and then sell off a chunk of that. And the valuation on the chunk that they may be selling off is $20 billion.
Now, the people who are not in FIFA, they're not too excited about this. I think,
And
FIFA already has its
you,
reputation
you,
for.
you call them Ant FIFA, right? All right.
No, no, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
FIFA's already got this reputation for being corrupt. I think the last thing anybody wants to see is another part of them being sold off where things can be done not quite above board.
Yeah, I think listen, there's two issues. One is that absolutely FIFA has been not only has been accused of being corrupt, but it has found to have been corrupt over the years. 100% correct. And also it's a governing body.
Right.
So a governing body, in theory, although again, this is sports and this is it's sports. It's not sort of life and death. A governing body should at least have the appearance of not being influenced at all by a commercial deal or a commercial opportunity.
And then they're trying to do business with the president's son or his son-in-law.
His son-in-law's brother is one of the likely investors in
Okay.
this entity.
Now,
Yeah.
I can just see where this is going. Oh, you think the U.S. is going to get a favorable draw in the next World Cup? Oh, absolutely. The big fella's going to make sure that happens.
Right. Well, you're going to have conspiracy theorists come out with that,
Yes.
regardless of what happens now, even if it's not true.
Right.
But I think the reaction from some of the other, like the UEFA's of the world and other governing leagues of the other governing bodies of soccer, they're kind of horrified by this.
Well, they see where it's going. They see no good can come from this, in their opinion. And so, go ahead.
Well, no, FIFA claims that the money that they're going to earn from this, they're going to give it, in sort of give a chunk of that money for developmental purposes, in all the federations around the world. If you believe that, they might give some, but if you believe that's the rationale for doing this, it's not.
The problem is not them giving some money for to help the other leagues and help them with player development and all that other stuff. The question would be, how much money are you giving us? It's like when you do something for charity and you say a portion of these proceeds will go to charity, and then you find out the portion is like 0.5%.
Right, right.
Well,
right.
That is a portion.
Right. It's why with some nonprofit fundraising, one of the methods in nonprofits fundraising is not to just give an organization money, but to say, I'm going to give you money for an express purpose that you need to account for because of exactly that reason.
No, and that's I don't give enough money for that to have those types of things. But I do say, where's this money going when I give it?
Of course,
just to have an idea of because some things I'd really like to be involved in, and some things I give two hoots about. I don't think I think this was more of a trial balloon. Let's put it out there.
Oh, I don't
get some reaction.
Oh, I don't think it's a trial. It's not a trial balloon at all.
You think they're trying to make it happen?
They're selling high. The World Cup was an astonishing success. They've been probably contemplating this for a while. This is the time. It's like this is the time you want to sell high, and that's what they're doing now. And that organization has shown no compunction or interest in public opinion. They're going to do what's in their own self-interest. I think this is absolutely not a trial balloon.
Well, in that case, you think it'll go for 20 billion?
I don't know. I haven't been able to analyze exactly where that number came from, but it will go for, in the billions. It's like estimating anything. The Seahawks were estimated to go for 7 billion, 8 billion. They went for what, 9.5, 10. So
That's it.
estimates, I don't know their entity well enough to have an opinion.
All right. Even if they sold it, what do they do with all that money? Because it's an entity. It's not like it's going to a team where you go, okay, we'll get new uniforms
Well,
and new stadium or whatever.
well, as I said, they said that some of the money is going to be distributed to the federations, country federations, to help them with player development. Um, yeah, that's quite possible. Some of it will. Where's the rest of it going to go? I think probably to the FIFA executive team.
All right, that makes sense. It's good to be FIFA. Bottom line for me, there's no way in the world this is good for soccer. But the way my man says it, sounds like it just might get done.
Bottom line for me, I'm very, very much opposed to FIFA and what they're doing, and I'm starting a group called Anti-FIFA. Not to be confused with any other group that might have a similar name.
Let's move on to your boy LeBron James. No one is happier than my brother, who's 36 years old and has been a Philadelphia 76ers fan since he was about
Oh,
10 years old when AI was doing this thing with the crossover. Matter of fact, I bought him a AI authentic AI jersey when he was about 14, and I became his favorite brother, even though I'm his only brother. Uh, Shortly after that, so LeBron to Philadelphia, 2 years, 8 million, player option for year one. We talked briefly last week, and I said I thought he was going to Miami. That's because I really completely forgot about Philadelphia because we were just kind of talking at the end, and I was thinking about Boston and Milwaukee and somebody at Golden State and Miami, and I just go, no, I forgot about Philly, and then as soon as I heard he was going there, I go, oh yeah, that does make sense. They got a young superstar in Maxi. They got a veteran superstar in Jaylen Brown, regardless of whether you think he's a seven-letter cuss word or not. They got an aging superstar in Joel Embiid. They just want him ready for the playoffs. They got a, youngster
they got
Edgecombe.
VJ. Yeah.
Yeah, Edgecombe, who had a terrific rookie year out of Baylor. I think he was a third pick overall and played like it.
Mm-hmm.
And Maxi, he's a bona fide star. And then you throw LeBron in there. They have a chance to compete, and that's all. That's all you want if you're LeBron. Can I have a legitimate chance to compete for a championship? And I think they do.
Yeah, I think that I think the wild card in all this, if I'm looking at this deal from a pure sports point of view, is Jaylen Brown wanted to go, he wanted to be the man in Boston, wanted to be the number one in Boston. Um, he's going to have to share the ball with and share the number one duties. He could be sharing the number one duties with three other players.
Well, here's the deal, man. And I think you raised an interesting point. But it's been my experience. But usually this is a financial thing. For example, many times an older player, I used to like to say Eddie George because he's a Buckeye and he played for Tennessee and he ended his career in Dallas. The Cowboys paid him the exact same thing, Tennessee paid him. And so we were talking shortly after he came to Dallas. We just blowing, shooting it. And I go, so why you come here, dog? He goes, I earned more money, and Tennessee had to pay me. I wasn't taking that from Tennessee, but I'll take it from you because I had sweat equity in Tennessee. I built that franchise.
Mm-hmm.
They owed me more.
Mm-hmm.
In Dallas, okay, fine, I'll take that. So my point is, in Boston, he probably feels I'm just as good as Tatum. I'm better
Oh,
than
I see.
Tatum.
I see.
I want my shine, but I can go to Philly and say, "Oh, I see Maxi is me 6 years ago. I respect his game. I see what he's doing. LeBron is the OG. If I need to mold my game a little bit to the OG, I could do that because I have such respect for his. That's if he's thinking like that. If I have such respect for his
Uh-huh.
game, blah blah blah,
Uh,
I can do that.
let- let's
Um,
let's talk in November, December.
that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because the first part of their season, they'll lose a lot of games where people will be like, "Oh, what's wrong with?" And it's all because they're trying to figure out who's going to take the shot in the fourth quarter, who's going to assert themselves, what's the rotation going to be like, how can I make
Yeah.
sure we all get our turn to play? And a lot of it is LeBron. I read today or yesterday that they view him as kind of a point forward, point guard kind of thing, run the offense. Um, and again, see, now it flips to LeBron's ego. Is he okay averaging 17 points a game and having 12 assists? Because, he's always been that kind of facilitator. So if he takes that to heart and says, I don't need to score because look at all these guys we got, he could have a phenomenal year and not average as much, but your ego's got to be able to take that. And, so much of sports is about ego, whether you learn how to subjugate it or whether you assert it
Mm.
or whether you control it. It's all ego. And they got a lot of, we ain't talked about Embiid yet.
Right.
and it's a lot of ego on that team. And it's up to them to figure out how to merge and mesh and play together.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have taken, and not just because he's a Dookie, I would have taken Tatum 10 times out of 10 over Jaylen Brown. Um, but what's also a very likely, there's two things that are also very likely to happen, which could kind of mitigate some of these issues. One is that both Embiid and LeBron aren't playing 80 games. They're probably playing
Right.
they're probably playing 50 games. And secondly, of those four of the five projected starters, one or two of them is going to be injured during the season. So I don't think it's going to be a huge issue, but I think that again, I don't know anything about Jaylen Brown. I don't know Jaylen Brown personally. I'm just surmising based on how I've seen him. By the way, I think he's a phenomenal player. Don't get me wrong. I think he was amazing during the regular season last year. Um, but I think he's not going to be happy. He's just not going to be happy, and I think that's going to create an issue.
That we'll see.
But we were
That
talking.
that
Okay.
I was going to say that we'll see, but we're talking about LeBron today because I had a thought, and then ironically enough, an article came out about it. I was really wondering like what the economic impact of somebody like LeBron is to your city and your team, because what happens is like stuff like this. When you talk about economic impact, whoever their radio broadcast team is, whatever station they're on, those ads for the games that
Go
used to
up.
cost $100
Hmm.
last year. Oh no, brother.
Right.
That's $500 for that 30-second ad this year. And just put that about anything because now we are the hottest ticket in town.
Yeah.
And you don't know whether he's gonna play 2 years, so you better come see him. Just everything is more now.
Yeah. Of
They're gonna have some of that premium pricing, I bet,
course.
where when they play the Knicks, that ticket that's usually $100 is now $250 or whatever, because they can
Mhm.
do that because the king has arrived.
There's an organization, there's a company called the Boyd Company that does helps organizations if they're thinking about maybe locating a headquarters or locating part of a larger company in a given city. And they came out with actually an estimate for the economic impact of LeBron joining Philadelphia. It's called the Boyd Company, and their economic impact was 250 to 400 million dollars, just as
Yeah,
an economic impact. And if you look at what his economic impact was in Cleveland on his return, it was something to the 4 to 500 million dollar range. So
it's
that's uh that's real.
the number of people and entities making money off of LeBron James being in Philadelphia this year is going to be insane. The hotels are going to be booked because people are going to be coming in from out of town to watch him play. I mean, it's just going to be wild because the new team,
Are we
because
gonna
they're
are
really
we gonna
good.
see are we gonna see Sixers Celtics on Christmas Day, you think? Or Sixers
Oh,
Knicks?
because they're division rivals, they're probably playing 4 or 5 times. You probably see one of them will open the season, one of them will be on Christmas Day for sure.
I think
Uh,
Sixers Knicks is Christmas Day.
hey, I'm down for that. That's a great game at noon or 1 o'clock,
Yeah.
whatever time zone you're in. That's a great game. Ended up with Luca and somebody on Christmas night. So
Oh,
no,
yeah, West Coast game. Yeah.
yeah,
But but but
uh,
the but the economic impact is real. And it's as you said, the economic impact, the tentacles of this thing reach just about everywhere, whether it's, hotels, whether it's restaurants. There are
Bars.
yeah, ticket sales, jersey sales, concessions, uh, travel, everything revolves around this. And
Even it's crazy. Even stuff like the NBA ticket. Like, okay, he's been with the Lakers for several years. Who cares? Oh, he's with the Sixers.
well,
Oh,
one of the least understood impacts of that is LeBron James's games now, unlike the last 7 or 8 years, however long he's with the Lakers, is now in Eastern time, where a lot
yeah,
of people can see him.
yeah,
Okay.
no,
And
and again, the ad rates for the TV games are going up when LeBron is playing.
well, not only that, the NBA waited to create its schedule based on where LeBron was landing, so it could put, LeBron against. I mean, so you're going to see there's going to be some great games, right? There's going to be the Knicks against the Sixers. There's going to be the Lakers against the Sixers. And then there's going to be Boston against the Sixers. Those are going to be three huge marquee games.
Um, yeah, and I think you can even throw in Miami for the second tier. Um,
Miami and Cleveland in the second tier for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So no, man, and because the question, and you're always good about answering this, is because now the NBA is chopped up on all these different networks. It'll be interesting to see whether who gets the games. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what's being haggled on behind the scenes now,
Because
I'm
they're
sure.
all fighting for them.
Yeah, absolutely, no question. And it's also it's what are the marquee spots for these games?
Yeah,
Christmas Day is certainly one, as you said. Opening night or opening week is certainly one.
uh, and
Um,
there are some others, and I say this, there are others meaning like I was talking to Troy Aikman, as I name dropped, a
uh
few weeks ago, and we were talking about the San Francisco rivalry, and he goes, "Yeah, he goes, it's no secret we always played in early November because that was sweeps," and I was like, "Wow, I never even thought of that."
yeah, yeah, no,
But there's all kind of stuff like that.
yeah, sure, sure. No, uh, it'll be good. But I think that you'll see NBA viewership of some of these, and I've, NBC or Amazon or whoever has some primetime games every week, trying to create a night during the week in prime time to kind of create that kind of appointment viewing for people, or create
Yeah,
that kind of reaction. Oh, it's Tuesday night. Like TNT used to have games on Tuesday nights, I think. Oh, let's
right.
let's watch a game on TNT Tuesday night. Some of the networks are going to be looking at saying, okay, we want to establish this weeknight as our NBA
Yeah,
night. And they're going to be lobbying hard for as many of these kind of marquee games as they can. But it's even better for the NBA because he's in on the Eastern time zone. That is going to be uh, you'll see a bump in viewership just from that reason, just for that reason alone.
nah, bottom line for me. Oh, let me ask you about this before we move on to the bottom line because I just thought about it. Um, it's interesting that there's real talk about him living in New York, Manhattan,
Taking a helicopter. Yeah.
and taking a helicopter to Philly because it's a 45-minute helicopter ride. That seems odd to me for a couple reasons. Number one, it's the East Coast. It's not like California, like Kobe was doing, where you would say 95% of the time is going to be great weather. East Coast, you could have snowstorms. The weather doesn't seem conducive to take. I mean, for me, I ain't trying to be in a helicopter that often. And
Right.
maybe that's just, I mean, he's rich enough. He can certainly have a place in New York. And on days where it made sense, okay, I'm going to New York for a couple of days. But it seems like you could build some goodwill with the city if you lived in the city, even if you went to New York all the time. But if your address said, I'm living in Philly this year, but sometimes you be so rich it doesn't matter and you don't care.
I think he's not worried about goodwill. I just don't. Um, yeah, but this is how close these markets are to one another in proximity. If you remember, the Knicks played the Sixers in the playoffs this year,
Yeah,
and there were more Knicks fans at the Sixers games than there were Sixer fans because it's
Yeah.
so close. It's so close. We can drive. We will sometimes drive. We have friends in Philly, and I live literally right next to New York City. I can drive into New York City in like 15 minutes, and we can drive to Philly in the morning, meet somebody for lunch, and drive back here. Takes me an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes. So it's very close
All
proximity.
right. So theoretically, if you didn't if the if the weather was bad for the helicopter, you just have a car service pick you up and take you wherever you need to go.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Philip Rivers used to do when his family was in San Diego, and then when the team moved to Los Angeles, the
Yeah.
Chargers, he used to take a car up and back, something like that. Eminently
Yeah.
do eminently doable.
All right. Bottom line for me, Philly getting LeBron is going to be a whole deal, and I'm actually looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting to see what he can do. And hey, because on the East Coast, I can stay for most of the games.
Bottom line for me, uh, going to be great. It's going to be great for the sports fans. It's also going to be great for business, and it's going to be most importantly, it's going to be fantastic for the economy of Philadelphia.
This leads us to another conversation. We mentioned Jaylen Brown earlier. Jaylen Brown said something. He was having a conversation with somebody this week, and he talked about he didn't like the fact that players' salaries were public because it allowed the media to drive certain agendas or media people to drive certain agendas.
Mhm.
And my initial thought is, hey, dog, you make enough money, it shouldn't matter to you if people know how much you make. But secondly, is everything about, and it doesn't matter which league you're talking about, which of the major leagues you're talking about, everything is driven by money because these leagues, except for baseball, have have salary caps. And so it matters how much people make. And in the league that doesn't have salary cap, baseball, I literally just read an article less than an hour ago about the Texas Rangers. They're a slightly above average baseball team. They're in the fourth or fifth largest city in America, metropolitan area, depending on how you count it.
Mhm.
They have the 15th highest payroll. Seems
Oh, I
odd.
thought their payroll was in the top 10. It's
No,
it's
it used to be.
used to be, yeah. Okay.
And the story is all about there's outside of the Yankees and Tampa Bay, who scares you in the American League? The Rangers need a catcher, they need a reliever, and they might in a bat, maybe they can do some things. But the owner says, I don't want to add any additional payroll. So everything you do has got to be a
Yeah.
tit for tat.
Yeah.
Or if you do add some payroll, it's got to be minuscule. And so what are we talking about? We're talking about money and salaries and how one team says, I don't want to spend no money. And so we can't contend.
Yeah. I mean, as you pointed out, we were talking earlier, as you pointed out, there's a reason Jaylen Brown is on the Sixers
Yeah,
because of his salary. There's a reason that LeBron James is on the Sixers because of his salary.
dude.
And so
Uh,
so Jaylen Brown's point about you shouldn't discuss salaries. Um, he's in the public eye. He's a public figure. That's number one. You will routinely hear what movie stars are getting paid, what actors are getting paid, but importantly, publicly listed companies have to disclose the salaries and the compensation of their executives.
yeah,
So those are actually formally disclosed. So it's a pretty common practice for people in a pub who are public figures who are in the public eye.
it's just the nature of the beast, man. This was not always the case. Back when I was a kid, I didn't know how much anybody made. The salary cap showed up about 1994, 95, somewhere in that ballpark. And that changed sports. It showed up in the NFL at that time. The other teams added their salary caps. And what it does is it makes now money a huge part of the game because
Right.
what people make and how long their contracts are and how long their contracts or when their contracts expire and how much money they all of that is now a huge part of how you put your team in. And so it's like college football now or college sports with NIL.
Hmm.
Although sooner or later, the teams don't want it public now, but sooner or later, all those numbers are going to be public because it's going to determine what kind of roster you put together and what kind of team you put together. And the University of Texas, Steve Sarkisian, already took some flack last week, because he said, "Oh yeah, we had to get rid of," and he named them, this guy and this guy and this guy, because we needed their money to go get this guy and this guy and this guy. And
It's business.
it's all transactional,
It's a
man.
business.
It's just the nature of the
No.
beast.
Yeah, so the NBA doesn't formally have a salary cap. The first apron and first and second apron, which are the thresholds for whether or not you pay incremental money in
Yeah,
luxury taxes, are a create a de facto salary cap. That's number one. Number two is that there are there are negotiated amounts for max and super max deals, so you know how much how much players are going to
yeah,
get, and there's also a salary floor. You have to spend a certain amount of money regardless. So you, you don't have to be a genius to figure out how much a lot of these players are making either.
right.
So publicly disclosing them, that's part of sports. That's what people talk about. It creates a lot of, we're talking about it now, lots of media is talking about it, lots of fans are talking about it. That increases the value of the game, that increases the notoriety of the game also, which increases the value to the players at the end.
We're doing a whole podcast about the business of sports and business. I mean,
Mhm.
it's about sports and money. That's what we're talking.
Yeah,
And much of what we end up talking about is about contracts and salaries,
yeah.
and how, and the next subject is how people pay for all these salaries. Even when you're talking about the Cowboys and why they're the most valuable franchise, it's because Jerry Jones figured out how to market all these different things to bring money into his team, so that he's flush with cash, which back in the day when it really got started gave them an advantage over other teams, because they could pay people huge signing bonuses because they had the actual cash to do it, which meant they could lower
Right.
salaries.
Well, you had two owners in Dallas that were very innovative, that
Yeah,
were business guys who helped unlock the value of the NFL and Jerry Jones, and the NBA and Mark Cuban. Those are two incredibly important owners, uh, who, by the way, are also public figures now. People
right.
know who they are because of what they did, and that has unlocked a tremendous amount of value in both sports for different reasons.
Yeah,
So to complain, and I understand his point. I don't want anybody knowing how much I make either, but if you apply for a job in the state of I think it's the state of New York, and there's other states, when you apply for that job, or if that job is posted, I should say, there's a specific salary range that you have to give. So
right,
even in public postings now for a lot of jobs, and I'm not sure if this is nationwide, but I certainly in the state of New York,
right.
um, you know, hey, I'm applying for this job as, whatever the job, executive assistant for such and such a company, and it says the pay range is between, you know, 75,000 and 85,000.
Yeah. So
So
now you know.
these things are public,
Uh,
and it's sort of the more transparent people are with salaries and how much everybody's getting paid, sort of the less discriminatory payment practices are out there too. But that becomes a whole other political
that's a whole nother
kind of
thing,
issue.
but
Yeah.
it's always interesting, because that's what, at one point, at one place, Jaylen Brown says that. At another, every league is about, hey, Jeremy caught 35 passes for 400 yards. He's making 6 million. I caught 50 passes for 700 yards and 7 touchdowns, and I'm making 40. He's why is he making more than
Right.
I need to make
Right.
more than him?
Right.
I mean, they all base it on that. They all base it on stats
Well, that's
in
because the
terms of how
second
much you get paid.
that's because the second guy who was making 40 million had JJ McCarthy as his quarterback. But that's why.
So it's all out there, but it's all being used for whatever your purpose is,
That's
because
exactly right. That's a very good
you know
point. Yeah,
because
that's a very good
owners
point.
did go, hey Pink, you weren't quite as good this year, man. Instead of 2 million, how about we pay you 1 million this year?
Yeah.
And then your agent goes out and says, hey, is anybody else going to pay us 2 million?
Well, think of this. What if you don't think Jaylen Brown wants to know and feels he has a right to know how much Jason Tatum makes?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, having your money out there is just part of the deal. I've always been a transparent money person, in part because now, here's the difference between us. You spent much of your career in management. I spent much of my career as a player.
Uh-huh.
Management is always trying to keep salaries low, and they don't want anybody to know what anybody else is making. So that they don't have to have these conversations that the teams have. It's just the nature of the beast. And so I used to always ask people who did what I did, give me a ballpark of what you make, and I'll tell you what I am, so I can see if we're in the same conversation. Because if not, you go in with a number, and they go, okay, we'll do that.
Hmm.
And then they go back, well, I thought he was going to ask for a much bigger number.
Right. I think that, yes and no. I think a lot of companies have specific banding and a strata or a range rather for salaries at certain levels and all of that. Now, it changes a lot with talent, whether the talent is an actor or a journalist or a news anchor or a
Yeah,
basketball player or whatever. Those salaries are kind of all over the place because those are much more subjective
those
measurements.
salaries are often about leverage.
That's
I
true.
mean, you meaning when somebody wants you to come work for them. Well, I'm perfectly happy here. You have to blow me away, and then that's how you end up somewhere in the same market, and one
Well,
person is making 30,000 more than
is,
somebody else.
as I always say, and I'm not saying this is going to sound like I'm not making any judgment on this, but talent will always co-opt value from a company
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, and that's just how it is. And that you can see that from, the MGM in the 1900s,
Yeah.
early MGM, and that the talent basically co-opted the value of the studios at that time. And that just happens and you know what? LeBron James is worth more than almost the top 10 players are probably not worth as much as LeBron James is to the NBA.
Okay, real quick before we move on, how many other players, if they were moved to a different team, would have a 250 to 400 million economic impact on a city in the NBA?
Right now, I think Steph Curry might.
Okay.
Uh, I think in the sort of the immediate impact, probably right now, Steph Curry's probably the only one in the same stratosphere as LeBron.
Yeah.
You could you and also the same stratosphere, not just in terms of playing ability, but also in personality and
Yeah.
awareness and everything like that. I would say Curry. I can't, the best players, Luka, Giannis, Jokic,
Okay.
won't
Giannis
have
is a
that
good
impact.
thing. So
Won't have that
Giannis is
impact.
going to Miami. What kind of economic impact is Giannis going to have?
Well, there's two reasons. I think Giannis is going to have some, certainly not he's going to have definitely an economic impact, but the Miami market is not a sports fans market the way Philly
Right.
is.
It's
Philly's a
like the
total,
Lakers are not.
yeah, right, exactly. Philly's a totally different animal. There's not much to do in Philly except for watch, the
Yeah.
76ers and Eagles and whoever the Phillies. By the way, and it's a great sports town.
Oh,
Miami, you can go to a Marlins game and maybe, you know, six people show up to a Marlins game,
maybe.
and it maybe eight. And the Dolphins games, you
Right.
know, people now the Panthers do well down there, but so it's a different town. So if Giannis, so I think sort of apples to apples, if Giannis went to Philadelphia
Yeah.
instead of LeBron, maybe half that impact, if at most.
Maybe. Because I don't, Giannis, as great as he is, just ain't moving the needle like that.
But what if Steph Curry went to the Pistons?
That'd probably be a big deal.
Yeah, they need
I
a
mean, it would
shooter.
be a big deal.
They need a shooter, they need some offense, and they need a veteran. What if Curry just showed up at the Pistons? It'd be one of the biggest. That would be as big or a bigger story than LeBron. Maybe not as big. It would
Yeah, I
be in
buy
this
that. I
in the
buy
same
that.
stratosphere as LeBron going to the Sixers.
Yeah. Bottom line for me, player salaries being out there is just part of the game, and you get paid to deal with the BS or having to deal with the BS.
Yeah. Bottom line for me is player salaries are just as important to sports as player abilities are these days. And like most other industries and most jobs, salaries and what people make are often, not in all cases, they're still pretty hidden in a lot of corporate America, but for many public figures, they're very well known.
Our favorite time of the day or show is we get to talk about Ohio State, where we went to college and became boys. First, though, we want to always remind you to subscribe, rate, review. Look at us. We can use all the help we can get. This week, we talked about it a little bit last week. Patches. The Buckeyes add a patch, $17 million a year. Notre Dame adds a patch.
It's in the upper right of their jersey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Notre Dame adds a patch from SoFi, $18 to $20 million a year.
Buckeyes from
And
Chase for what, 17 million?
yeah.
Yeah.
And the Big 12 added a patch to all its uniforms, men's and women's, and field logos for about $20 million a year for the entire league, which is about 1.6 per team. We knew last week it was coming. And again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. In the next year, there'll be 30 teams with patches.
Oh, for
Because
sure.
everybody's got to find a revenue stream for all this NIL money.
Right, right. And also you'll see schools like the fact that schools like Notre Dame and Ohio State did it will now give, particularly
Permission.
since, yeah, exactly, will give other schools in the Big Ten permission to do it. And, Ohio State's rival, I think they definitely will have to get a patch because they have a lot of money that they're going to owe their athletic director. And they're going to need to figure out how to pay that.
I've heard, and you hear this all the time when something like this happens. I've heard a couple of sports traditionalists, oh, it's terrible. They're putting patches on the uniforms. And I'm just like, dude, just shut up. I mean,
Nobody
it's
cares.
changed.
Yeah,
When they first started playing on artificial turf, nobody wants to play on that crap. We should all be on. I mean, change. Nobody ever wants change. Change is always hard, but change is always necessary. That's what life is. Everything's an evolution.
that's right. There's going to
This
be
is just the latest.
Yeah, there's going to be hand wringing and pearl clutching and all of this. But you and I have both been around sports long enough to know, and college sports long enough to know, even when we were at Ohio State, there's money is exchanging hands in some way. At
Yeah,
least we know how it's exchanging hands here.
yeah. So I don't have any problem with it.
Do you like Chase as a sponsor for Ohio State?
Yeah, chase us while we go win these conference
There you
championships.
go.
So
There you
see,
go.
it,
But
it works in a lot of different ways.
now,
So yeah, I got no
now,
problem with it.
now, did you think about the fact that SoFi and Chase are financial services companies that are buying these patches? It's just, they're not the same, but they're very similar in terms of, they're both in the financial services industry.
Well, let me tell you what I hope it means. This is serious. What I hope it means is they will be providing some financial literacy as part of this program with all the players in all the sports because they're getting money that many of them have never seen, their families haven't seen. Of course, there's always some families that are doing well economically to get scholarships, but
Uh,
there's a whole lot who don't. And the number, and even then, you know, just trying to control a kid who's coming to a bunch of money, even as parents, well, it's my money. You can't tell me what to do with my money. Okay, well, why don't you listen to this person from Chase give you the same advice I've been giving you?
I think that is a great idea. And if Chase isn't doing that, they should. And if Chase isn't doing that, we're going to send them a clip of this.
No, it should.
Yeah.
I mean, it should. You can't. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't give people all this money, which can be. You can really make enough in college right now if you're a certain kind of player to set your family and yourself up
Without a question.
damn near for life.
Without question. SoFi is though that kind of company. They are looking to reach a younger demographic. They
Yeah.
already have some sports stars pitching their product, and they're pitching sort of financial independence or a modern way to handle your money. So SoFi's kind of in
Right.
that vein right now, but I think it's a great idea. I think both of them should be doing it. I was looking at it purely from why is a financial services company advertising in college sports? It's because it's a heavily male demographic,
Yeah.
and it is
Well,
it's a younger demographic to a large extent, and they're harder to reach. And one of the best ways to reach them is in sports.
yeah, and you're also looking. Look at all. I mean, if you're Chase Bank, even just on Ohio State's campus, and there are people in Ohio. How many young people are you going to reach watching the game who don't have bank accounts because their parents give them money or they've got an account, but it's not really theirs. When they get a job after they graduate, if they don't have a bank that they're loyal to, I don't know. I guess I'll go to Chase.
Right.
So it makes sense from that perspective. But financial literacy is important. I taught my son how to fill out back when people did checks and stuff. Back when he was like 12 years old, because he had a little savings account. And if he needed some money out, hey man, you got to go in there and you got to fill out the slip, the withdrawal slip, and sign it and all that stuff. And then, we get to college the first couple of years. He's like, Dad, the number of people who don't know how to
It's
do
amazing. It's amazing, isn't it?
just the
Yeah.
basic things, whether it's fill out your
Yeah.
bank thing or do your laundry, or he goes, it's amazing. I go, nah, bro, that's the normal.
Yeah.
It's because mom and dad did it all for him and forgot to teach him.
Yeah. It's normal. It's amazing. What I used to do with my kids when they were really little, because I have, this is the kind of person who I am, and I've tortured my kids through most of their lives, is we would be driving in a car and they'd be sitting, and my wife would be in the front, I'd be driving, and my kids would be in the back seat. And we'd talk about, okay, is this an appreciating asset or a depreciating asset? So Karina, who's like 8 years old, is a car an appreciating or a depreciating asset? Depreciating, yay, Karina, that's right. And I'd say, so is a house an appreciating or depreciating asset? Well, it depends. Yes, that's right, exactly. Yeah. So
Those are great conversations to have, man,
yeah,
because if you just look at the NIL money, or let's not even go there. There's something on Twitter, TikTok, some social media where it talks about they go and interview players about how they spent their first million. And dude, I would say 90% of them, that first million is all depreciating assets. It's
oh, I'm sure, of
jewelry, it's cars,
course.
it's clothes, it's there's nothing they can take from that tangible. Only thing they can take is they bought a house, but they probably put the house in their parents' name, and so it's not even their house.
Hmm. Yeah, but I think it's a great point. But it'll be fascinating, not fascinating. It'll be interesting to see as the jersey patches become more common, what types of advertisers are going to be on
Yeah,
these patches. But these are pretty blue chip advertisers to start, which makes sense for programs like Notre Dame and Ohio State.
because they're you're not getting on my jersey unless you drop a lot of money. Like I'm sure next in line is Michigan, next in line is University of Texas,
Well,
Alabama.
you sent me a spoof account on,
Yeah,
on
they
the
got
Wolverines, yeah, about saying that Palantir is going to be the jersey patch for Michigan, which is pretty funny because if you know what Palantir's business is, they're essentially one of their businesses is a technology to track other people and to spy on other people, to spy on people and learn. Yeah,
yeah.
so it sort of made sense. But you just won't engage in that at all. I know that sort of stuff. I know, but
Bottom,
that was pretty funny anyway. Yeah.
dude, anything that takes shot at Michigan is good with me.
Okay.
Um, Bottom line for me, jersey patches are here to stay, and I'm not even going to be shocked if they add another one.
Bottom line for me, college football is a business. College football is expensive. These big programs need revenue. Jersey patches are a great way to generate some of that revenue. I have no issue with it whatsoever. And like you, Mr. Taylor, change is good.
There you have it. He's Jeremy Pink. I'm Jean Jacques Taylor. We appreciate you hanging out with us for yet another episode of the Bottom Line on Sports, and we'll holler at you guys next week.
We'll talk next week. You can email us bottomlineonsports@gmail.com.